like to say, if it gets a bit cold, I've got an SAS smock in my rucksack. Not that it's my favourite of jackets, but they are windproof. They're not waterproof so much, but they are windproof, so which is a bonus, because this Leicester River bushcraft shirt, this garment, it's not windproof and it's not waterproof, so just gives me a little bit of it'll retain a bit of warmth if anything gets too cold. But so far so good, I'm alright. So let's see how it goes. Oh, I'd just like to say I'm breaking in a new pair of boots. They're the modern British Army boot. I think it's a desert boot. Given to me by Lisa, my mate, in Cinderford, in Gloucester. Blind lady Lisa, or partly blind, partially blind lady Lisa. So thanks Lisa for these boots. I am wearing them. Oh, I forgot to tell you where I was parked up. I'm parked up at grid SO 056175, and it's actually the same car park I was in when I did the film for the ARF 1465 Wellington bomber crash site. So there you go, I'm going towards that Wellington bomber that's crashed in the Brecon beacons, but I'll be diverting off to the left instead of going to the right and along the ridge. Let's get going. Well, so far so good. I'm not cold or anything, but I am going up this steep hill anyway. But if anything, if there's any problems really, it's going to be the polycotton shirt touching the skin on my forearms. But all the rest is pretty good so far, even the hat. Oh, nearly there. Nearly there. Be walking into the mist as soon as I get to the top. Oh. I'm all done up now. It was so windy I had to put my my smock on, my SAS smock, and my waterproof trousers as well. So far so good, I'm alright. It's like nice and warm. Okay, now I'm out of the wind, I can start talking now. Right, is wool warm when it's wet? Yes, it is, actually. That was quite interesting. Now, throughout that walk, the drizzle came down on and off, so my jacket, this Leicester River smock, this wool smock, even though I wet it in that waterfall at the start, it stayed wet right through the entire walk. It's wet now. I don't know whether you can see. It's very damp. So and it was very windy. So and it never dried in the wind. So although it would do in the end, I suppose. So I'll start off with my hat, and even though you've seen me dunk it in the stream and it was soaked, I put it back on my head. I did wring it out, but I put it back on my head. It stayed warm all the time, so that was really good, actually. Fair dues. My merino wool scarf, I don't know whether you can see it, merino wool scarf, it got wet, and it stayed wet because I was breathing on it as well, and it was warm against the skin all the time. My socks never got wet, but my army socks, I've worn them wet before, and they're fine. And this Leicester River smock, wool smock, did it keep me warm? Well, it did, actually, but because it's not windproof, I have to say I'm not in the wind now, so yes, it's kept me warm and it's wet. But with a polycotton shirt underneath, even with a wool t-shirt with short arms, in the light breeze, I did feel the coldness going through, and the coldness of the shirt on my arms, forearms, sort of coming through, but not to the extent of being shivery. Far from it. It was just a little bit cool. Now, in the high winds, this, I don't think it was nothing to do with the polycotton shirt underneath. It was the wind actually pushing hard through this garment, through my polycotton shirt, through my my merino wool t-shirt, and it was making me cold but not shivery cold. So that was pretty good. This smock was sort of cancelling it out a bit, but now bear in mind it was 7 degrees Celsius when I started off, and that's not including the wind chill. So it's not freezing, but if it was freezing anyway, I would wear a wool jumper over the top of my shirt and underneath this smock anyway. So I would do that. But I would say the final conclusion is wool warm when wet? Yes, it is, but not in windy weather. If you're going to wear wool in the windy weather, in the mountains, it's different on the it's different on the lowland, in the woods and what have you. But in the highlands, high up in the mountains or high hills, you will need... Oh, my camera turned off. Right, you will, with wool, yes, it'll keep you warm in the wet, but in high winds you will need a windproof jacket, a windproof smock, or a waterproof jacket of some sort to go over the top, because the wind will just go through and cancel that warmth out. not to the extent of being shivery and horrible, but it'll sort of cancel it out. So yeah, wool is warm when wet, and it's well worth incorporating a bit of wool into your gear, actually, whether it be just gloves, hat and scarf, or something more like this, or a jumper, a wool jumper and a fleece jacket. If you do get a jumper, my experience is don't get a civilian jumper, because they fall apart and stretch, and they're not very good. They're not made to do this sort of thing. But the best jumpers are the army jumpers. Well, I've got two jumpers, wool jumpers that is. A Dutch army jumper made, well, it's a simulation of a Dutch army jumper made by Miltech, and you might have seen it on other videos. Or I've got a British Army jumper. Well, no, it's not army, it's a navy one actually. I wanted one army one and one civilian one, but the civilian ones are no good, so the military jumper I got is the British naval jumper. It's woolly jumper. It's exactly the same as the army jumper with the pads on the shoulders and the elbows, but it's blue. So there you go. But yeah, so yeah, it's worth incorporating a bit of wool into your gear. It's worth it. So there you go. That's the conclusion. The final conclusion is wool warm when it's wet? Yes, but not in the wind. Get a windproof smock or a waterproof jacket over the top of it and you'll be fine. Just one thing I didn't mention is my gloves. My gloves are not wool. They're these buffalo mitts, and they're not wool, but they're very good. So I just wanted to say that. And also, when I had my everything done up, my hood, my hat, my flaps were folded down, and my SAS smock hood was up as well. As long as you got the right layers underneath to the temperature outside, I sort of felt in a way that there was no limitations that the gear could take. The world, it doesn't matter what the world threw at your clothes, these woolly clothes, there was no limitations. I felt safe. Whereas with synthetic gear and the fancy nice looking gear, it has limitations. Yeah, so this walk was quite interesting with this woolly stuff on.